Welcome to the channel. I thought we'd have a very quick chat about gloves, reloading gloves in particular. Now, I think the very first place to start with is obviously no gloves at all. And there are a couple of reasons why I tend to wear gloves. The first is that obviously you have to wash your hands all the time. Secondly, sometimes the lead just gets into your fingers, especially if you're loading lead heads. You just can't get it out no matter how much you wash, and then invariably you eat something and you're introducing the lead in your system. And lead in your system is really bad karma. I used to, when I used to coach in the club, I used to come home and drink a half a pint of milk, just to try and introduce so much calcium into your system that it would flood it and try and flush the lead out. You know, the body uses lead much the same way it would use calcium. It starts depositing it in your bones and what have you not. So personally, I tried to wear gloves whenever possible. The other occurrence, of course, is when you start messing with oils or anything like that, or God forbid if you mess around with old percussion cups or with old primers, you actually get yellow fingers. It's why in the Second World War the ladies in the ammunition factories used to be called canaries, because they were literally bright yellow, because the stuff just gets on you and it dyes you. It dyes you yellow. And old primers will do that, old percussion caps, all sort of really old stuff, And the last one is with primers, not so much these days, but there used to be a fear that by physically touching the primers, you would impart oils from your fingers onto them and make them misfire. I don't think that's really much of an argument these days. I think primers are so resistant to oil. So what are our choices? This is my go-to. These guys are my go-to gloves. They are box standard latex gloves. You get them just about everywhere. You get them from Costco. They call them inspection gloves. They've gone shockingly expensive at Costco. They used to be reasonable. These particular ones, ironically, here in the UK, they come from Ho Hing. They're like £3.50, £4 a box. They were really cheap. Latex gloves are great. They're really tight. They hug your fingers. You can pick up a primer like this. You can put it down. You can position it like so. It's all right. It's not a big imposition. I think these are probably this is what I wear most of the time. The alternative, as these particular ones are from Costco. Although since the pandemic, during the pandemic, this was my glove, because you couldn't get the latex gloves, because all the latex gloves got really expensive, and I didn't want to buy them because effectively you're then taking equipment away from medical professionals. But so for a while I used these vinyl gloves. This is a sort of glove that you wear if you work for burger van or something like that. At that stage you use this sort of thing. But the reason I don't like them is because whereas here the finger is delimited clean, here you have something almost floating on top. Do you know what I mean? You have that bulge. It's kind of everywhere. And after a while I find my hands get more sweaty in these gloves as well. It's also much thicker. I think the material is much more sizable. It is okay. You can do it, but it's not quite as nice as the latex ones. So personally, I much prefer the latex, and these guys here, they're not as cheap as they used to be either. Now, the last one that I use sometimes, which I actually really also quite like, it's these guys. You get them. These are again Costco, and they're Contour Avengers. They're sort of a rubberized glove. See, like that. But the nice thing about these is they're reusable. And so instead of ditching them when you're done, you can keep using them over and over, which is again okay. And yes, they are thicker, but if you see, you don't have that bounce. See, that's my finger there. It's not like the end of the glove is not on it. When you actually put them on, for me, they're quite tight. They're comfortable, so you can still manipulate small stuff. You can still put your primers in place and what have you not. They also offer just a little bit more protection if you get your finger caught in the vise or so. There's at least a little bit there. So I do wear these sometimes, but to some extent you end up with if you do, let's say you do, 44 Magnum, and you do lots of lead heads, and you take each lead and put them on top. After that, I wouldn't use these for that sort of job, because after a while they get covered with lead, and then you're putting on these super leady things, and you just touch the outside and suddenly it's on your hands and what have you not. So these I use much more for when I use jacketed heads, or when I just tinker in the shed. You mess with garden equipment or oily stuff, something like that. If it's not too oily, then I'll wear these. Yeah, but that's roughly my glove selection. These guys are left over from the pandemic. They are on their way out. I will wear them through, and then that's the rest of it. And then, FYI, I also use these quite a lot for when I do practical shotgun. With sectional shotguns, these are great. When you get you load and you get your fingers trapped by the loading game. These are fantastic for that. Yeah. So these guys are on their way out. I won't get them again. This is the vinyl stuff. The latex stuff. They are expensive unless you shop well. If you shop well, you can find these cheap. And then the last ones, these guys, they're expensive. I think this box cost, I wouldn't say, but I think it was over a tenner, and I take a 9L. But 9 is the same as an L or an L, basically. But they last a long time, and you just really don't have to throw them away. So I've had this knocking around for probably a year or so. Well, actually longer, probably more like 2 or 3. So that's all I have for today. I hope that was interesting, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.